Well, so I have the car with me finally. We were scheduled to have a conversation 2 weeks ago, but unfortunately, some things came up. However, being the flexible man that he is, he's back. He says, "You guys, I want this conversation." And last time we had a conversation, that was on StreamYard, right? You were still in the UK, and it was a good conversation. We spoke about many things, but also he also let us know his ideas or the businesses that he has, and one particularly is working with young girls, actually introducing them to IT. So I'll let him do his own introduction. All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
I mean, you look good, man.
Thank you.
You look healthy.
You don't look bad yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. I try. You look healthy. How's your Sunday been?
Oh, pretty calm. I mean, I'm supposed to travel to Ghana tomorrow, so I was doing a few last minute stuff here in Amsterdam.
Okay.
So
I find it very interesting that you're traveling to Ghana, but then you visit Amsterdam for a couple of nights, and then
because of the love I have for you, you invited me to your show.
Yes.
So I factored that into my planning.
Right, rightfully so. Thank you so much. We appreciate you for even making it, let's say, possible for this conversation. One, because there are a number of, let's say, subject matters that we find very important to our listeners, or especially to our community, right, as Africans. And IT is one of those subjects. And you are our expert that we are able to get in touch with, to come to our platform, to our show, to take us through this journey of IT and why that is the future, basically, right? Let's start this conversation, right? Let's start talking about what you do. I have Cisco, Beaver, Funda Visa. What are those things? Can you please elaborate on the businesses?
So
Yes.
I'll call myself either a tech entrepreneur or social entrepreneur, for that matter, or non-profit founder. I've always been interested in entrepreneurship growing up, even though I delved into the corporate field for a while, particularly banking. I realized I had more of a passion or calling in entrepreneurship. So I had done some smaller bits and pieces of, just trade and just general merchant kind of stuff. But I sort of, for a while I was thinking like, what is it? I've been trying. I'm also extremely interested in, tech. I'm passionate about tech. So I was always trying to come up with some kind of app or, solution that, because today we realize that apps are solving a lot of our problems. So I was constantly thinking about that. But then, I got to Ghana. I traveled to Ghana a few times, and I realized that unemployment is on the rise, and more so even for females, because it's like back home there are not a lot of opportunities in general,
Right.
and then when it comes to jobs that females can thrive, or environments that females can thrive, you realize that it's some kind of patriarchal society. The males are dominant and are controlling everything.
Yes.
So for me, I felt it wasn't right, because women also contribute a lot when it comes to just life in general. So I just took upon myself that there were some individuals in this field already, but I felt they were not enough. So considering that I had that exposure, having traveled and everything, I felt like I want to also do this. I also want to contribute my quota. So I was like, this would be something I would love to do. So I gave it a shot, and then I started my social enterprise called Sister Code Ghana, and then we are just trying to, and then again, just sort of talking to some of my friends who were a bit older, trying to get them. They're like, "Oh, Carl, I'm unemployed now. There are no jobs." I'm like, "Have you considered IT? Because there's so many jobs." And I said, "Oh, Carl, I can't code. It's too hard. The mathematics." I'm like, so then I thought about it, and I was like, it's kind of like, because they didn't get the foundation, and even I schooled myself back in Ghana. I realized that back in school, teachers were never really giving females the opportunity when it came to technical subjects.
Right.
It was always, girls should go and study English or
something else.
That was not technical. So for me, I felt like, no, this has to be rectified. And then I started my social enterprise, and we've been going. Aside that, Beaver is a software that we are hoping that very soon, because again, I did my research and identified that a lot of these coding softwares for kids are not designed factoring Black, minority, and African kids in mind, because these softwares are being developed by white people, so they are not factoring our demographic. So for me, I felt like, in the long run, I would want to be able to come up with a software portal platform that really sort of factors in the average young child growing in Africa and whatever challenges and environment they find themselves in, to sort of help them develop these skills at a much quicker rate. So that's for Beaver. And now with Fund Advisor, that is for me, I'm currently a doctoral researcher focusing in the fintech space, that's financial technology. And I'm passionate about finance, digital payments, and technology.
Yeah. So just to clarify that bit, that is you using your work experience, your history or your past with your current interest, which is IT, and combining that to do your doctoral research.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because it's easier that way. You need to be motivated to do your research, and if you're not passionate or having prior experience, it's very difficult. So yeah, that's what led me there. So that's with Fund Advisor, that's the goal, that financial literacy is very low in Africa. And even though fintech is on the rise, and then Africa seems to be, the next oil when it comes to financial technology, there's a gap, which is literacy. So I'm trying to see how, we can get the aspirants to invest back home, creating a platform that, they can connect with the continent. People in the continent can have better literacy when it comes to, finance and everything, especially young. I'm a youth advocate, so I'm always focused on the youth. I know the older people be like, oh, okay, but I mean, I just love working with the youth. So I'm always thinking about the younger generation, because I mean, the future is in their hands. So I always want to sort of empower and ensure that everything is going well with them. So these are my projects and a bit about myself.
Amazing. So
doing all of that in UK, I'm assuming, and then touching base, coming back home. I'm sure that because the education side, I think someone as a special guest here told me that being educated give you some type of new glasses to wear. You see the world in a different setting. What kind of things were you exposed to coming back to the motherland, actually, in your learnings? What were some of the things that you were like, okay, this needs to be corrected, or it needs to be better, or this is already strong? What were some of your observations in terms of opportunities as it relates to tech?
So I think the standard one for me is payment solutions, again, because of my previous banking experience. Because I realized that, so my home country, that's Ghana, where I'm from, there's still an over-dependence on the use of cash for payments. It's basically a cash-based economy. And for me, I'm like, that kind of slows down the rate of transactions altogether for businesses, small and large.
Yeah.
So there's a major telecommunications provider that's called MTN in Ghana, who, they introduced a payment solution called mobile money about 12 years ago. And it took, I'll say it took about 5 years since they introduced it for it to actually take off. And currently that is, when it comes to payment solutions in Ghana, that is dominating that space. Like currently a lot of, Ghanaians back home, you just meet somebody, oh, I want to pay for this. It's like, oh, you can Momo it to me. You can Momo it to, and that's just using your phone to be able to send electronic cash to make payments. And that has been widely accepted and widely adopted, which is sort of helping ease, the over dependency on the use of cash. But even that, you still see that there are sometimes instances where when I was back home, you get somewhere, and because I'm used to sort of you just swiping my card, when I'm out, there are instances where I'm not carrying enough cash on me, and then you get somewhere, and then they're like, oh, yeah, we don't accept cards here. You have to pay with cash. So you still realize that sometimes it can be very limiting altogether. So I think that's the opportunity there, for us to, like, say, for Africa or for Ghana, for that matter, to be able to bridge or catch up, because out in the West, you can just go out with your phone practically, and you can still like pay for everything, by the time you get back. So I think that's the difference there. Yeah.
You also talk about, I really love how you're a STEM advocate. I've spoken to different, we've had different guests, women alike, that have come here as they are STEM advocates as well. They're saying, more of women, more of Africans in tech, and all of these fields that also fall under that umbrella. Why is it so important to focus on women in these areas, women and Africans as a whole? Why is it? Could you share with us? Because we know the general, statistics and what people are saying, but could you share a bit more light on why is it so important to focus on these groups, just like you do with your organizations?
So I believe that there's still 10 schools of thought say globally, population wise, there are more women than men. Some say more men than women. But at the end of the day, I feel like excluding one gender, that's females, or not giving them that opportunity, kind of reduces the availability of workforce or individuals who can actually sort of help promote tech altogether. Because firstly, not every male would necessarily end up in tech, and currently in the world there are more tech jobs than there are tech professionals as we speak. So it's just only proper that you try to get more, or you open the door for more people to be able to occupy these positions, because a lot of companies require or are heavily dependent on tech today. And if you are just sort of limiting it to just the males, there's always going to be that deficiency. So that is why I think it's extremely important to sort of give females that exposure, create more opportunities, create that enabling environment for them to sort of be able to thrive in these tech careers going forward. Because for a very long time, most people associate tech with just males. So you realize that there's always going to be that deficiency. That's from the male-female gender divide. But when it comes to even Africa is boasting like one of the highest populations globally, and there are so many. There's that active working force. That's when you look at the continent. The youth are there, and they are constantly seeking opportunities. So I feel that once we're able to sort of take that to the continent, it just creates that chance for there to be greater opportunities for individuals to thrive going forward. And that's why I believe that, and even just being able to promote the continent, because, we also need to develop as a continent. So if we have more tech professionals trained there, it will just help to be able to drive all or many sectors that we are currently deficient on the continent. So I think it's so important that we keep pushing to get more females involved and get more Africans involved in tech. Yeah.
Carl, before we round up, do you have any final word, Carl, that you would like for people listening to take along?
So, thank you for this opportunity, and thank you to all your listeners. But I do believe that wherever we might find ourselves in the world today, either you personally try and see how you can be abreast of what is happening in the tech space. We all see it being evidenced as a result of the pandemic, where we had to really alter our lifestyles and the way we do things. So it's extremely important. And also, if you have a daughter or a sister or any female that you might know, I believe that just try and encourage and help nurture or support them if they do decide that they want to sort of pursue anything in the STEM area, and particularly tech. I think that it's extremely important that we try to encourage more females to be able to make that that leap, because
I love that. I love the sound of that.